Yesterday, we met Hannah, a barren woman who longed for a son. She had a husband who dearly loved her, but her heart's desire was for a son. Hannah brought her request to God time and time again. She even told God that if he saw her misery and granted her a son, she would dedicate him to the service of the Lord in the temple. God heard her cries and he answered her prayer. And before long, Hannah and Elkanah conceived a baby boy named Samuel, which means, because I asked the Lord for him. Hannah kept her promise. After Samuel was weaned, she took him to the temple to dedicate him and leave him there. You'd think that this would be the saddest day of Hannah's life. Here she finally got the answer to her prayer and inner longing, and now she had to give him up to God. Whatever mixed emotions Hannah felt, she expressed joy in leaving little Samuel at the temple. 1 Samuel 2 records Hannah's prayer of joy and worship to God. My heart rejoices in the Eternal One, my strength. My heart rejoices in the Eternal One. My strength grows strong in the Eternal. How can she be so joy-filled? She's giving up her son to be raised in the temple. She will only get to see him once a year. But Hannah's joy was in the God who saw her sorrow, listened to her cries, and answered her prayers. She can rejoice because she knows God is good and hears the desires of our hearts. But what is curious about this 10-verse prayer of praise is that Hannah never once mentioned Samuel, the very child she was asking for, the gift that was given her. She never says her joy is found in Samuel, though you know he brought her immense joy. You'd think her joy would be all about the answered prayer, her baby. But Hannah's joy was not centered on the boy. She knew it was the giver of the gift that was the true source of her joy, and that's where her praise and worship belong. When we get answers to prayer, we find joy in the answer, and that seems quite normal. We thank God for the provision, and rightly so. Our joy is overflowing. But what happens when that answer fades or passes or goes awry or a new request takes its place? Our joy in that answer dissipates and we are left longing again. But what if we, like Hannah, keep our joy centered on the giver of the answers? Hannah could rejoice in God even though she was no longer in possession of the gift. Hannah could rejoice in God. Hannah could rejoice in God even though she was no longer in possession of the gift God gave her, because her lasting joy was found in the giver, not the gift. Gifts will come and go, but the giver will always be with us, and in him we find true joy. Gifts will come and go, but the giver will always be with us, and in him true joy is found. Gifts will come and go, but the giver will always be with us, and in him true joy is found.